You know how every day of the year is some, like, National Pecan Pie Day, National Drink a Latte Day. Well, I guess today, March 16th, is National Panda Day, so it's a good time to talk about the panda and how it is a fake animal. And I'd say it's one of the more known to be fake animals. And you'll see people joke a lot of times about, pandas, it's like a drunk person in a suit. And yeah, there's tons of people out there that they know that this world is fake, and you know what, and that all the world's a stage, and that you can't believe anything on TV, and don't believe anything you hear, and only half of what you see. Panda kind of falls within that. In my mind, I think of just this place. We live in a place that's occupied by tricksters and deceivers, and that this is a good example that we are in a broken world and we are ruled over by deceivers and liars, and they have constructed the Matrix, if you want to call it that. They have just constructed a false reality full of bullshit. And if Freemasons are good at one thing, it's bullshitting. Let's get into it. Fun facts about National Panda Day. Yeah, life, it really should be more about building skills, trivia, facts. It's just something that somebody writes down in a book somewhere. And another thing that I think about a lot is that there's a lot of these things. Is it snape hunting? Is that what it's called? The jackalope. Coming up with fantastical creatures is nothing new. The panda is just one that they get away with it. They get away with actually convincing people that it's real, unlike the jackalope. But I'm sure you've known people in real life that get off on trying to convince people that things like jackalopes are real. So this is a thing. This isn't a totally new subject. Faking animals. It's actually kind of an inside joke thing that, middle school antics. What just makes this more interesting is that the whole world agrees about it, in the same way that the whole world agrees that people went to the moon, even though that's a bunch of BS. Well, thankfully, there are real humans, and there are people that think for themselves, and the illusion goes away when the truth has been presented. And I think pandas are a good introductory. Wait a minute, what's going on here? Is this real? Are all things as they appear? A group of pandas is called an embarrassment. When have you ever heard of such a strange name for a group of animals? That one probably tops the list. And why is it embarrassing? I mean, very strange. That should get you thinking. That seems odd. That a lot of times, with their antics, with their hoaxes, they don't take it seriously enough. If a panda was a real creature and there were biologists out there, like, what type of people have access to a panda and are coming up with these things? Who gets to decide what a group of pandas is called? You would assume it'd be some sort of panda expert, and they decide that we're going to call them an embarrassment. That's what's a group of apes called? Don't they call it a troupe? Like an acting troupe? Anyways, let's keep going on. There's apparently a subspecies, Keenling panda. It's just a different suit. These are just highly advanced mascot suits that people put on, and they convince people that it's real. China is the leader of faking things. So it really is not that shocking that the modern symbol of China is something that's fake. The red panda, I've seen those. Those look real. Red pandas appear real to me. They almost look like a fluffy raccoon or something. The scientific, anyways, poachers can sell panda pelts for as much as, when have you ever seen somebody with a panda pelt? Wouldn't they all be extinct by now if they really could make $100,000 on a single panda? There's been plenty of animals that have been hunted to extinction. Are you telling me that you can sell a panda skin for $100,000 and China hasn't just totally obliterated them? That is unbelievable. How to sell? Let's see how to celebrate. How can we celebrate National Panda Day? Should we inform people about pandas, or play a silly panda game, or what? Oh, get out your pocketbooks. Give to a panda conservation. That speaks for itself. Here's our Keenling panda, sticking out the tongue, of course, which is a mocking symbol. Kali and her tongue. All mocking tongue. When is National Panda Day? Well, today, March 16th. What is National Panda Day? You wouldn't want to cuddle one. Oh no. Almost all of their fake animals have this built into it. Koala. I'm highly suspicious of koala. I don't know, maybe I'm open to the idea that it's kind of a rare thing that doesn't exist anymore in Australia, but I don't know. Australians are tricksters, and they got sent to Australia because they were the bad ones. So I don't trust the koala at all. There are so many koalas out there that are 100% obviously plushies, and there are so many gaslighting attempts of people to try to convince you that obvious plushies and animatronics are not that, or just CGI, just straight up CGI koala all over the place. But same thing with the koala, right? A cute and cuddly thing that looks like a plushie, but they'll tell you, oh no, don't touch them, drop bears, right? So apparently less than 2,000 pandas live in the wild. Of course they're rare because they don't actually exist. And you really can get in. I've made a lot of videos on this, and I'm sure people in the comments will talk about all the things about pandas that don't make sense. And anyway, I'll just keep going. Yeah, let me know in the comment if you've always thought something about a panda that's like, hey, that doesn't seem right. And I'll just point out here, there's one of the funniest videos that I've ever seen in my life is a video out of the Toronto Zoo of a panda being allegedly born. That is one of the most hilarious. That is like what woke me up to fake animals, was that Toronto Zoo video. So you can go check that out if you want. Of course, their habitats are shrinking, okay. Urban development. I saw people talking about like poisonous rain on one of these slides. I don't know if I already skipped it or not. They don't breed well. Female pandas are only fertile a max of 3 days a year. And 60%, well, there's a 3-6 for you. They love 3s and 6s and 9s, of course. I mean, every number is going to mean something, but that seems unbelievable to me. Only 3 days a year. I don't know. What other mammals out there only gestate for 3 days total out of the entire year? I would imagine that is wildly not abnormal. But I'm not an expert. Let me know in the comments. But yeah, they got a 3-6 right there. 3 and then a 60. The whole no sexual desire thing. They put on the great ape suits when they want to get all nasty, furry, and sexual with it. The pandas, that's where they put the drunk ones. You get the panda suit. Giant pandas are regarded as sacred. When have you ever heard this? This is one of those things where they seem to just wildly make stuff up. Nowadays, sloths grow moss. I know that was not a thing when I was young. It was just not a thing that, oh, sloths have this whole ecosystem on their back of moss, and that's just an idea somebody had at some point. Well, doesn't it make sense for a sloth to like start growing stuff? Hey, I live in Oregon and my car is growing stuff that sits outside. And so you would kind of expect a sloth to start growing things if it was what they told us. And so they kind of just built that into it. Oh yeah, that's a good idea. And they just start doing it. You get that with the panda too. And a lot of their fake animals. Platypus, every year there's just new wild stuff about the platypus. That you're like, well, why, don't they like glow in the dark now or something? Who even knows? Because they can just make up whatever, because it's fake. You don't hear shocking information every year coming out about squirrels or deers. But they're fantastical creatures. Sure, why not? It's so easy to come up with bullshit. That's a thing people don't understand. People don't understand that it's really easy to come up with bullshit, and coming up with excuses is also very easy. That's what you see people do when you attack the Matrix, when you start making people doubt things that they've just assumed their whole life. Excuses come out like so easily. People will make excuses for all these things. Oh, this is just so stupid. Look at this. They're sacred creatures of the forest and living fossils. When have you ever heard of a panda as a living fossil? That is so BS. Who came up with that? And then look, we got a 3 million years ago. Apparently, so this, I'm going to go back to only gestates 3 days a year. It barely is even surviving. Everybody knows, like, how is this thing even surviving? But apparently it's a living fossil. Wouldn't you expect the things that are living fossils to be the most, those are like the crocodiles, it's like a snail slug or something that just survives anything, a cockroach. How is something that can't even breed under the most favorable conditions, how can that thing be a living fossil? That makes no sense. I think that this is like a nail in the coffin of, already I know for a fact that pandas are fake. This just makes absolutely zero sense, though. Is this for reals? Is this some fake? I guess I would have to go check that. There's other people out there saying this ridiculousness, but this goes along with, they can make up whatever BS crap they want about their fake animals. The only mammal to have survived the whatever 3 million years ago, you're telling me is the panda, is the one that made it through that? Chinese people adored these gentle giants. So this is all gaslighting. The truth is that there are no historical depictions of pandas. The truth is that this was made up like 100 years ago. A little bit over 100 years ago, this was made up. That's the truth. I've already said a lot, so I'm going to just flip through slides fast now, and you can pause and read whatever you want. But I've already said enough. But what the rest of this video is mostly talking about, besides this one thing, I'm going to talk about a surrender flag in a second. But this is just another example. You can make up whatever BS you want if you're lying. We know, oh, I just read something on the internet. Must be true. We know that things are just made up all the time. But this is so stupid. Anyways, I lost my train. I'm going to be skipping fast, I guess was my point. Here's from Peppermint Narwhal Creative. A couple of years ago, peace, love, and pandas. Pandas have been a symbol of peace in China for hundreds of years. That is bullshit. Anybody can find out that they popped out of the scene like 100 years ago, but there are massive gaslighting attempts by the media and people like Peppermint Narwhal Creative that just, all they do is spout a bunch of BS, and they hope it lands. They hope it sticks. Instead of waving a white flag of truce, a flag with a panda on it was the sign of surrender in the country. Can anybody find any solid evidence of that whatsoever? That is so ludicrous. I just typed it. I was like, ancient China surrender flag. This is what I got. Great point of, if you're making stuff up, you can just say whatever. Big they come up with big, outrageous lies. It's campy. NASA is campy. It's not even good. They obviously make the CGI look extra cartoony. When you go and you type in satellites and you click Google Images, it's cartoons on purpose to mock you and to demoralize you, and it's part of the magic to show their hand like that. And it's also part of disclosure and karmic release. They believe that by doing that, it's now your fault. You looked up satellites on Google, you pressed images, and we gave you cartoons. I don't know why you assumed that satellites are real off of doing that. But everything is cartoons, so you don't question it. Or, many people don't question it. I thought this was interesting that they obviously cropped it to be a one eye. They love the one eye symbol. The part of this video that I'm going to go through really fast, because it's just I've already said so much stuff that I think is enough to get you thinking if you've never thought about this before. But the second half of this video is getting at the name thing and the fact that pandas don't really exist, but they're doing these attempts at making it seem like pandas are ancient, but no way. they're taking ancient Chinese names and then just saying, oh, that must have been about the panda. And it's really obvious that that's what they're doing, but I'll just show it here. Discover the history, mythology of the Zhangmiao, Mo, Pixiu, or giant panda. This website had all sorts of the historical records in ancient China. Where's the drawing? What? Where's the giant panda? Yeah, that looks old. Where's the panda? That's some writing. So, pause, I'm going to scroll slowly through this, and you can pause if you want to read this. I'm sure you could also find this website if you search for it. But you can see that they're throwing everything at the wall and just going to see what sticks. There was actually some interesting stuff in here, for reals, if you wanted to pause and read. But I just feel like I've already said enough, so I just want to keep going. The gist. Some weird alchemical stuff. There were things about lore of these creatures being able to eat metal. And then, anyways. But the words that they would use, Pixiu, they're talking about that in here, or maybe even here. Discover the history and mythology of Zhangmiao, Mo, Pixiu, or giant panda. But this is clearly a dragon hybrid creature. A mythological hybrid creature. This is not a giant panda. I think that the orange webpage, the gold-colored webpage, talked about a Keelin or something, possibly. That's not a panda. These people were very highly artistically advanced. They could have done a panda if they wanted to, but that's not a panda. This is not a panda. The Mo? I don't know what's going on with the Mo, but it's also not a panda. Mo, this is what Wikipedia says. Mo was the Chinese name for the giant panda, but what? It doesn't look anything. The description of it sounds nothing like a panda, having a nose like an elephant, eyes like a rhinoceros, a tail. That doesn't even sound at all like a panda. So this is good proof that even the things that they claim are ancient Chinese depictions of panda, it doesn't even sound like a panda. So where'd you get that idea? Large bear cat? I guess because panda has something to do with cat, with the name, the Chinese name. Zhou, I don't know. Striped coat, strangly mane, fangs that curled out of its mouth. That doesn't sound anything. Zoyu sounded more like a lion. The WWF, who remembers when... Here, is the WWF real? Do you remember when WWF was wrestling? Fake wrestling on TV? So it's not real. And remember when these changed over? They got the black and white logo. The symbol for the WWF is deception, is not real. It's fake in the same way that the WWF wrestling was not real. And I'll try to quickly read through. These are a little dense, but it was kind of interesting. So I'm going to try to speed read through these, and I'll say something if something pops out to me as being really interesting. But of course you could pause. The first giant panda account in a Japanese or Chinese zoological work was an Eri Megumi's 1925-1927 Dobutsugagi Saigi Zoology in Detail. Party-colored bear, giant panda. So 1920s is, according to this, when I'm just reading the fun facts, and that's how trivia is, and that's how this world works. On the surface, will just be nothing but a bunch of bullshit deception that is so basic level bullshit, but everybody just accepts it and moves on. A thing I think of a lot is in elementary school, they used to teach about, the taste being on different parts of your tongue. Every day, human being, we eat, and we know that's not how our tongue works. We know that, but school can teach us whatever bullshit they want from an authority figure, and people accept it. Even if it goes directly against a basic function of life, like eating food. We all had that intuition. What is this bullshit? I can taste salt everywhere on my tongue. I can taste sweet everywhere on my tongue. What is this bullshit? oh, it's just Masonic gaslighting BS, that they will push whatever. But they are liars, they are of the devil, and that's why this world is filled with so much deception. However, I guess to make my point, have you noticed that, yeah, the world is full of so much BS that is just wrong? And that goes with, like, advertisements, too. Like, we know advertisements are lying to us, but we just all accept it and move on. This just works at so many different levels of society, how they get us to just accept things that we know are not true. And that's why this is a spiritual battle. Satan is a deceiver. He's just a liar, and Jesus is the truth. That's why I think that it's a spiritual war between lies, deception, Satan, and the truth, Jesus. I don't know what else to say. (1930s). It was discovered 60 years ago. So here, which is it? Was it discovered 60 years ago? By this, however many years ago that adds to now when this person was speaking? Or has it been around for a long time? Oh, I don't know if sorry, I got so sidetracked. I don't know if I ever finished my thought. That sometimes all you have to do is a little bit of research. Sometimes all you have to do is a little bit of looking into things to realize that things aren't the way that they appear on the surface. And I think that the panda is a great example of that. If all you do is open up a thing and go, oh, what a cute little factoid, and move on with your day, you're getting nothing but BS. But all it takes, actually, is a little bit of research to find all sorts of deceptions. And this works a lot of, again, so many things that I want to say that this applies to. Like being a parent, and you start to question, should I just be going along with all of these things? Doing just a little bit of research sometimes is all it takes to completely change your paradigm. And this went on and on about they're the brother. There is a weird thing about the history of the panda, though. It has to do with Theodore Roosevelt's brothers, or sons, one of the two. This was going on about the drama between the sons or the brothers. It was incorrect, or using the wrong name on the panda. In the beginning, things are a little shaky. Nowadays, the panda machine is a little bit more well-oiled, but in the beginning, things are shaky. The beginning of the history of the platypus, very shaky. Outright rejected. Scientists outright rejected. They knew better. Okay, well, if you're still here, I'm just going to end it. This is really interesting, actually, this last thing. Until the 1970s, reference works uniformly defined Chinese mo as the scientific name for tapir. One man's speculation led to an event of modern cultural amnesia, and the giant panda was erased from the record of pre-modern Chinese civilization. So this is their excuse, I guess. They're just going to say, oh, we were jumbling names up, and the history of the panda was just erased. Cultural amnesia. What even is that? And I guess this is the reason why we don't see any depictions of pandas. And yeah, they've really just created quite a mess with the history of the panda, if you try to look into it. And it doesn't really make any sense at all. And it's because it's a nonsense creature. It's not real. It is a fake animal. Look at this, the Eastern Zhou Dynasty animal-shaped bronze. We have so many ancient artifacts from China, but they do not exist of the panda because it didn't exist, and it still doesn't exist. That's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed. God bless everyone.